Hey there guys, Star Kirby Reborn in the last part. We reviewed, the Handy Boy, my original dual disc, and I left you with some questions like, wanted to see me and my friends review some movies, and then I told you about the EarthBound movie, the unfinished EarthBound movie that, well, the original Star Kirby Reborn told you about after doing some extensive research and, well, trips down memory lane. Well, not extensive research, but extensive searching, I found the script that I worked on during the 5-month hiatus that was between the death of Star Kirby 1234 and the birth of Star Kirby Reborn. Now, here's the script. I'm going to read it for you. I don't know. I'm not too sure about this. So I say, like, okay, so pretty much... Oh, wait, no, I completely forgot. Before we get into this, we should go into the history of Mother that I based this thing on. So, thankfully, now then, it's 1989 in Japan. The Famicom is in its last few years, and the new employee at Nintendo, a man named Shigesato Itoi, decides to go up to Shigeru Miyamoto, who, if you don't know who he is, that is completely... I have no sympathy for you. Let me explain. Miyamoto was the man who created famous icons such as Mario, Samus, and Link. So he's the guy who's in charge of Legend of Zelda, Metroid. I think he's in charge of Metroid. I'm pretty sure. No, that's not him. No, but I know that he's responsible for the creation of Mario and the Zelda franchises. So he decided, hey, he said, well, I want to make a game on the Famicom. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. What's it going to be about? And he's like, well, it's going to kind of be like Final Fantasy. He's like, and JRPGs, or games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior, were really popular at the time in Japan. And I think they still are today. So, as in the US, over here in America in the last years of the NES, they were kind of unknown and not very many people played them. But they decided to name the game. And so Miyamoto's like, well, what's the name of the game? And he says, well, it's going to be called Mother. And he's like, well, why is that? And it's like, well, because the game, Itoi wanted a title for the game that sounded least game-like. So they called it Mother. Here's my custom copy. And then when NOA, or Nintendo of America, heard about this, they said, oh man, we gotta get in on this hot Mother action because it's selling like over 1 million copies out there in Japan. We gotta get some of that action. And so they went through the tedious task of translating Mother to an NES cartridge. And they completely translated it from English to... or from Japanese to English, full game, everything, had it ready to go to market with a, like, I think it was with an 80-page strategy guide, and they never released it. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, why didn't they release it? It was slated to be released under the name of EarthBound, 2 words, Earth and Bound, not 1 word, we'll get to that one later, as EarthBound, and, it's due out in the fall of 1991. Now, what was coming out that year in 1991 was the Super Nintendo. And so, because of that, they decided to focus all their work on the Super Nintendo, which was the Super Famicom in Japan, which was going to be ported over to America as Super NES. And so they were kind of putting more work into that than into EarthBound, so it pretty much died off. There's an issue of Nintendo Power, I think, like issue... I want to say like 17 or 18 that describes EarthBound. It has like a little blurb in it. And that was all the gamers heard of the first Mother game. That's it. And so then, fast forward a few years, like, okay, so it was 91. Fast forward 5 years later, Nintendo Power gives us this info on this game, Mother 2. And so, or no, 6 years, 1995. Nintendo of America says, no, wait, scratch that, scratch all that. God, I'm like really screwing up because I've never had to do this on camera. Lulz. God, what was I trying to say? Right, 1994. Nintendo, Shigesato Itoi decides that because Mother was such a success to make the sequel, Mother 2. And so it sells, again, like millions of copies in Japan. Like within the first few months of its release. Now, Nintendo of America, because they had failed, I have the whole thing, the everything. I'm just gonna take it out of the packaging for you guys. Yeah, so here's the cartridge. It's called a cassette, actually. It's called a Super Famicom cassette. Kind of weird how it's not a cartridge. So Mother 2 is a huge hit in Japan, and Nintendo of America says, hey, we want to get, since we didn't like really do very well with the first game, how about we try to take this one over to America and try to release this fantastic game series to the America. So, after mass amounts of translation and a little bit of censorship, or for censorship for copyright infringement protection, not for like nudity or anything now. Censorship for nudity wasn't heard of in the era of Nintendo because, well, every game was like 16-bit. Yeah. Yeah, so they take Mother 2, they translate it from Japanese to American again, and June 5th, 1995, we got EarthBound. This humongous thing is like 3 times the size of a normal Super Nintendo box. So it came like this. Essentially, there was no wrapping on it. It essentially came just like this. Yeah, here's the back of the box. It's a really nice box. I love this thing. Mine's a little sun-faded, but who cares? I love my copy of EarthBound. Anyways, so we got this, and it didn't sell very well. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, why didn't it sell well? It's in a bright, colorful box. Ad campaigning. Mother 2. For Mother 2, they hired, like, this huge Japanese boy band called SMAP, I think. I have no idea. Yeah, SMAP, I think. I don't know what they are. You can look them up. They used them in the advertising to get people to buy Mother 2. And that was a brilliant idea. When it came to... And I mean, this thing had TV commercials and everything. It had TV commercials that had, like, spots in Famitsu magazine, which was kind of like the Japanese Nintendo Power. So it sold very well. Now, EarthBound, on the other hand, did not get the same kind of very good advertising, sadly. Poor thing. It had a horrible ad campaign. Let me tell you what it was focused around. It was pretty much focused around the fact that it smelled bad. Like, it smelled like... One of the taglines was, EarthBound, it's like living in your gym shoes. What kind of a tagline is that for an RPG? Especially an RPG of this magnitude. So, Nintendo put out all these various ad campaigns, and it was all focused around, like, 2 parts of the game, where you're in the Foreside sewers, which already, you can imagine, smells horrible, and you're fighting this huge pile of puke called Master Belch. So that's what they focused the ads around. And they said, like, oh, this game stinks. It's got more smell than the pull my finger. It's like, it's just, that's not, no. They did a, I think, 3-page excerpt on why this game is like a disease. They said, like, oh, people have been affected with the EarthBound disease. And that was slightly true. So, after this, it essentially, and this thing, instead of being like the regular like $30 to $50 for a regular SNES cartridge back in '95, this thing cost $70. What kid in 1995 was gonna pay that much money for such a great unknown? Because Americans didn't know that much about JRPGs. Because, well, Chrono Trigger was a few months down the pipe, and Final Fantasy VII wouldn't be around for like years. So, EarthBound tanked here in America. Anyways, this has kind of been my little review on EarthBound. We still got one more part to go, and then I can read you the script that we based off of this wonderful game, and I still got to show you what happens. Okay, so hold on. Alright, so in the next part, we continue the rant about EarthBound. It's going to be fun. Star Kirby Reborn, the EarthBound guy, signing out.